All right, well, welcome to the Ed Abroad Con session on critical language scholarship and SIT study abroad. My name is Krista Mantello, and I'm an advisor in the Education Abroad office at Western. I'm pleased to be presenting today with my colleague Shun from SIT Study Abroad. And we will, as I mentioned, be recording this session for students to review later. In this short 30-minute session, we are going to be providing a comprehensive overview of the CLS and how you can study these critical languages abroad. So what is the CLS? The CLS launched in 2006 as part of the US government's National Security Language Initiative, an interdepartmental initiative to support and expand the study of critical languages among Americans. It is a summer-only study abroad program open to any US student. This program is fully funded by the US government. And to be clear, this means that there are little to no fees associated with this particular program. As you can imagine, this means that the program is competitive, and we will discuss how to ensure your application is strong. So the US government determines languages that are essential to our international relations in regards to national security, economic prosperity, and engagement. The more Americans that we have that are fluent in the designated languages, the easier it will be for us to communicate and understand each other. Since 2006, over 7,500 Americans have participated in the program, developing language and cultural skills that are critical to America's engagement with the world. Here you can see the languages offered through CLS right now. You might note that many of these languages are not taught at Western. That is why it's good to note that there is no experience required for some of these languages. Note that 1 year of study is required for Arabic, Korean, Portuguese, and Russian, and 2 years are required for Chinese and Japanese. And this means by the start of the program. So if you're planning to apply for the CLS for summer 2022, you would need to finish your academic year or years of language study by spring quarter 2022. So at time of application, you don't have to have it done, but by the time the program starts, you do need to have that language under your belt. And note that Western does offer Arabic, Chinese, Japanese, and Russian language courses. Having an understanding of other cultures provides new perspectives and can help you work better with your future business partners and colleagues. Like a study abroad experience, through this intensive cross-cultural program, you will improve critical language and thinking skills, self-awareness, communication, flexibility, and tolerance for ambiguity. Alumni of CLS are expected to continue their language study beyond the scholarship period and apply their critical language skills in their academic and professional careers. In fact, 83% of alumni continue the study of their CLS language after the program, and 79% of alumni use their CLS language in their academic and professional lives last year. Many US companies give advantages to candidates with language skills. Studying abroad builds experience in problem solving, communication, and other employable skills. CLS alumni credit the skills they built during the program for making them more competitive candidates for their jobs. Having a fully funded academic program on your transcript and resume can really set you apart from other applicants. The close-knit cohort model is another feature of the CLS. 95% of alumni stay connected to other participants and members of the host community long after the program ends. And we actually have an alumni from the Chinese language summer 2020 virtual cohort with us today. And they have told me that they still often connect with their cohort. And if we have time, I might pick on you, Emmeline, to talk a little bit about your experience. Lastly, while there's no requirement to seek government employment after the program, alumni of the CLS program are eligible for non-competitive eligibility, or NCE, hiring status within the federal government for 1 year following the end of their program, and this is extendable for up to 2 additional years. Excuse me. I mentioned previously that this is a fully funded program, and the program does require participants to participate in orientation in Washington, D.C., and so that is included in the cost, as well as what you can see here, so your round-trip international airfare, if there's any applicable visa fees, all your housing and meals, the classroom instruction, and cultural programming and excursions, as well as the undergraduate credit. And so students should plan to cover the cost of a valid passport if you don't already have one, and any immunizations that you might need. So what's the program like? The program is typically small cohorts, so up to 30 students in a cohort, and students come from various backgrounds and institutions. So they'll have different levels of experience with the language and with travel. Some people might not have ever been on a plane before, and some people might already have experience in the host country. Some other data from CLS participants, over 40% identify as students of color, and that's from 2019 data, as well as 24% are Pell Grant recipients, indicating high financial need. And it is important to note that CLS does not discriminate on the basis of disability or any medical condition. As far as the schedule for the program, everyone shares the same schedule each week with 20 hours of language instruction, and then again those additional excursions, which could be some overnight group trips. And keep in mind this is for an in-person experience, and if the program, worst case scenario, needs to be virtual in summer 22, then it would be virtual and some of this wouldn't apply. So the program is designed for students to maximize their language abilities and to facilitate cultural immersion. It's important to note that you do not apply for a specific location, you apply for a language. There's a language policy or pledge to ensure that you commit to speaking the language throughout the program. And the program also does offer homestay accommodations where you live with a family. And this maximizes your exposure to the language in a more informal setting, as well as they provide language partners set up through the program to further improve your language skills and conversational skills. The program structure, although it's a short program, it allows for students to earn 2 semesters worth of language coursework in a short-term summer program. And that's the equivalent of 6 quarter credits at Western. And students are issued an oral proficiency interview or OPI certificate at the end of the program to demonstrate their language progress. Again, please note that you are applying for a language, not a location, so your application should really speak to why you have an interest in the particular language. As part of the application, you're required to answer 4 short essays and provide a longer personal statement. Short essay answers prompt you to write about your resiliency, preparation for the program, citizen diplomacy, and your commitment to language study. Your statement of purpose will need to address how increased language and cultural knowledge will help you achieve your future academic or professional goals. Why is participation in the CLS program appropriate for you at this point in your academic or professional career? Why should the CLS program invest in you? And what is it that you will bring to the program? How will you contribute to the program? The program application typically opens up in mid-September, and the deadline is usually in late November. So the summer 21 application has already closed, so that's why I keep referencing summer 22. And you should always check the CLS website for updated information. And when I'm done talking, I'll put a few links in the chat for you to get more information as well. So how to succeed. So there are a lot of students who apply for this opportunity. So how can you stand out and succeed? Again, don't feel like you have to be in modern and classical languages, studying something in particular. Students can come from any academic background, any major or minor, but you must articulate your understanding of the program, how you can contribute to the cohort, provide any evidence of your motivation to learn or improve the language, and make a clear and strong connection between the language and your future academic or professional plans. So ways in which you can succeed are by doing your homework and utilizing your resources. The CLS website offers a ton of information about the program and the application, so please do review their tips and videos. And the Western Education Abroad Office also put together application tips and considerations document for you to review, and it is available on our website. I'll pop it into the chat as well. Advisors in our office, Education Abroad, as well as other support offices such as the Fellowships Office, Scholarship Center, your own academic advisor, and the Writing Studio are all resources that you can use to help ensure your application is strong. And now I'm going to pass it over to Shun.
Great. Thank you, Krista. And hi, everyone. Thanks for having me today in your session. My name is Shun Yanagishita, and I am the University Relations Manager for SIT study abroad, and I have the pleasure of working with universities and colleges in the Western region, and I'm based in Eugene, Oregon. So I know Krista really well, and I love all the students at Western. They're always really exciting and engaged and wanting to study abroad, so it's really great to be here today. Just a little bit more about SIT study abroad. So you're probably wondering, what does SIT stand for? SIT is the School for International Training. We're actually a graduate institute based in Vermont, where we offer master's programs, global master's programs where you're in different countries, to even some hybrid online masters as well, in all sort of fields related to international, from international education to TESOL to international diplomacy, etc. So if any of you are interested in sort of future opportunities, we also have some awesome master's programs as well. But despite the fact that we run master's programs, we also run undergraduate study abroad opportunities. And that's sort of the division that I work for, working with undergraduates who want an international experience. So SIT, we've sort of have been around for several decades. Initially, we were the original Peace Corps Training Center back in the early 60s. And since then, we've sort of evolved into the School for International Training, offering graduate degrees and also running and managing undergraduate study abroad opportunities. As some of you may know, there's quite a few other study abroad opportunities that are out there, but what makes SIT a little bit unique, if I could, Krista, have you go back to the previous slide, sorry. We at SIT are sort of known for more non-traditional destinations, so we tend to go to a lot of unique destinations, a little bit off the beaten path. They tend to sort of be in more developing countries. Therefore, we tend to offer a lot of non-commonly taught languages, and a lot of them being critical languages. And so that's why I'm also here today presenting with Krista about critical languages, as we do offer a pretty robust number of programs that allows a student to learn a critical language. And some of these other bullet points here that I've listed to sort of describe SIT and our uniqueness. We're known for our programs being field-based, where you learn by doing. You're kind of in the field being your classroom, and you really learn by doing. So the experiential learning pedagogy is something that we implement in all that we do. We offer semester and summer programs. We offer research opportunities for undergraduates. We offer internships as well that are standalone or also embedded into our programming. And then you'll see in the next slide here in a little bit that all of our programs have a particular theme. So students will be studying about a particular theme, but you're learning about that particular theme through the lens of a local expert or a practitioner. And some of the other features too that I've listed is sort of Peace Corps-esque in the sense that cultural immersion is also really important for us. And so students live in homestay families. Also, language learning is a part of the programming that we offer. We also believe in social justice and reciprocity and community engagement. And so if some of those kinds of features really resonate with the type of person you are or your interests, then SIT could potentially be an interesting opportunity for you. On this slide here, I've listed the critical languages that we offer at SIT, and this slide talks about the in-person study abroad opportunities. So as you can see, all of our programs have some really unique themes, from refugee health to politics in Tunisia to biodiversity issues in Bali, Indonesia, or Swahili, Hindi, Chinese. And so if you are interested in learning an interesting topic, something that resonates with you or something you're thinking about in your future, but also, learning language at the same time, SIT could potentially be an opportunity for you. So with the CLS scholarship that Krista just mentioned, we've had students who do an SIT program prior to their critical language scholarship opportunity in the summer, or even doing an SIT program after the CLS, meaning that, utilizing SITs programs as a way to prepare for the CLS, or since CLS does encourage one to continue studying, sometimes we have students who do SIT programs after their summer. So lots of interesting sort of combinations that one could potentially do. And then on the next slide, I've listed, now that we're living in a pandemic world, I've listed some virtual offerings for students. Our our language programs are available to not only college students, but also the larger community, even some higher level high school students and adult language learners. So we have sort of a whole, gambit of types of students that do our programs, but we do offer Arabic, Hindi, Indonesian, and Swahili too. So, with the pandemic, we've had to pivot online, like with everything else in this world. And so if the online format is of an interest to you, we can definitely offer that. So I think that's it for my part.
Yeah, thank you, Shun, so much for that overview. I'm curious, Emmeline, if you want to speak a little bit about your recent experience with CLS and the virtual format.
Yeah. So, I mean, for context, I was blessed with the opportunity of studying abroad in person, uh, not the previous summer, but the summer before. So I knew what like an in-person study abroad was like in China. And then, because I was studying, my main focus was language. And then I applied for CLS, and of course, it turned virtual. Um, but surprisingly, like it gave my life so much structure, and I learned like so much language through the virtual program, way more than I ever could have imagined. Like I was expecting to be like, oh, I'm just gonna learn a little bit, but no, I progressed so much because like they provide that free like OPI with the program, and like my proficiency level was just so much higher. And like you mentioned, right, like I'm still in contact with like my class. The virtual program is really nice because, especially with a virtual setting, it's a lot harder to engage if there's more people in a class. And it was just five students, so we were all constantly engaging. We all constantly had time to practice our language in that setting. And then another thing that was really valuable was we still had to um, have a language partner. So we had a local student. So for me, I had a local student from Taiwan who was my language partner. And so, communicating with them a few hours a week, and then, like that was a really good place to just like practice your language on a more, natural, immersive level. So yeah, I highly recommend applying for it. You might as well. Worst case scenario, you don't get it, you apply in the next year. You can apply multiple times.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. I think that's a really important thing to point out. And I think the application process, you're always learning as you're going through it. And so starting early and again, utilizing your resources, always having someone look over your documents and your essays is really helpful. And then I did serve on a evaluation of the CLS applicants this year. So it was really informative for me to kind of see all the different applications, what students are putting together, and then having that experience of being an evaluator. I feel even more prepared to help students craft those really good essays because, there's a skill to make yourself stand out. But what I really want to stress, and I know I've mentioned it a few times, is that commitment to the language and the language specifically. So applicants that were like, I've always wanted to go to Jordan. I have family there and I think it'd be great. That's not going to be a really good essay because it doesn't really speak to the commitment to the language. So really focusing on that and not as much of a location. Not to say that you can't mention, any sort of personal connections or, previous travel in locations, but really it's about the language. So that's a really important thing to take home as well. So I think I'm going to go ahead and stop the recording now and